Hello everyone, I am Devasis and I will be giving you a brief guide to how to deploy a VPS. Now this is a continuation of the previous video where I said where I shared my experience how to choose a VPS service provider. So first step is to deploy or buy the VPS, then configure the SSH login, then maybe change this SSH port, then configure your firewall, update your softwares, then finally you can install your favorite software stack, for example Nginx or PHP, MySQL, those things. And finally after everything is done, then you can buy your domain name if you are hosting a website or plan to host a website on your server, then point it to the server IP address. So I will be going through these steps from 1 to 6. So here is how console of those VPS providers look like. So this one is from Hezner. I have my own or personal web hosting with these guys. Like I have my own VPS for my web hosting and some other tools as well. And here you can see they are very affordable pricing and reasonable as well. But the thing is, all their servers are in Germany or here Finland, Helsinki. So but the pricing is really interesting, especially for developers who are starting out their journey in real-time deployment and web developing, either for personal project or commercial. And you can choose one from these servers, but since today I created this DigitalOcean account and very generously they gave me this $100 promotional credit, so I will be using or I will be creating one from here. Otherwise I can also create one from here and I can stop it after a few hours, so I will be billed for this hourly billing. So this is also a very bonus point for developers, because if a deployment or for some reason if their project fails, then they can just shut down the server and create another one that suits their requirement. However, for the rest of the tutorial I will be sticking to DigitalOcean. So let me just close this. So here is this the control panel of DigitalOcean. So I will choose this Ubuntu 20.04, then a basic plan. I will choose this one, 2 GB RAM and 2 CPU. And I can choose any of these locations. So I want to test how this Bangalore location works, since I am here in India. So let's find out. Then you can either choose to enable IPv6 or not, so I will leave it default, I don't want it. And monitoring user data, those things are optional. So either you can create a password based authentication or SSH keys. So this is an added benefit of this DigitalOcean. It lets you configure this SSH key directly from this from their control panel. Otherwise you have to do it manually by yourself. You can follow their own tutorial how to do it manually. I will choose to do it from the control panel. And it is asking choose your SSH key. So I will create new SSH key, and now it is asking to paste the SSH key content. So this is your public key based authentication. So for this and for the future connection to the VPS, I will use this software, Bitwise SSH client. It's a free software for your personal use, so you can download it. And here you will give the IP address of the server once it is created and connect it using username, password or any other method. So here you can see the different methods it supports for authentication. Anyway, so first you need to create this SSH key. Either you can do it from your Linux terminal, which they already provide a tutorial how to do it using SSH keygen, or I will just use this client key manager. I will create generate new. Either you can give a passphrase, which is a recommended idea but for this tutorial purpose I will skip it. You can choose the RSA algorithm encryption strength here. Let's create it. Now it is created, so I can just export this public key. The public key will be what that will be stored on the server, and the private key will be stored with you. So when you are authenticating with the server, you will use your private key. So but this public key we have to export. So I will just write here, select OpenSSH format, then export, and you have to give it a name. For example, let's call it DigitalOcean. DigitalOcean tutorial public key. Now you can open this that file that I created. Let me just open it in my notepad. So here I have the public key that I just exported from Bitwise SSH client, and I can copy it and then go to the control panel where you can paste it, and you can give it a name, say DigitalOcean tutorial public key. Obviously I have to delete it since I am sharing it in videos, but anyway, for the tutorial purpose it's fine. And then add the SSH key. Now you can see that SSH key has been added here. So the authentication has to be done through this only. Now finally, you can how many droplets you want to create, or how many servers basically. So we just want one VPS, and you can also choose the host name, like let's say DO tutorial, or you can add some tags for, like if you have many different machines, then you can organize them or search for these tags and find them like easier. Then if you want to enable backups, then that will cost you extra. For this purpose you don't need it. So I will just go ahead and click create the droplet. Now it will take a while to instantiate the machine and start it. You see it's progressing, so I think I should pause the video and resume it once it is done. Okay, so now you can see the droplet has been created, and we can see some details by clicking on it, the name. What we are interested is in its public IP, that is this one. So you can copy this IP and we log into this server or this machine using our Bitwise SSH client, or you can use your own putty or anything, but putty is only for terminal access, but this one has a SFTP as well, as FTP over SSH, so that really helps. And username, I hope root login is enabled by default, or if not, then we have to enable it. Then by default SSH port is 22. Then here you can select public key, and the private key is already stored here in this machine since we just generated it, and it was this profile one, as you can see it here. This one we just generated, and then I will select login. Okay, so the server does allow logging in into using root login. So as you can see, I have logged into the server on the left side, root @do tutorial, that is the host name. So you can change it later as well if you want. And on the right side you can see the FTP. So this is what is really helpful. So when you are deploying anything, if you want to move any files from your computer or your PC to the server, you can just drag and drop it and it will be transferred. So this is really easy. Otherwise from you have to do the same thing from your terminal, so that becomes a bit difficult. So that's okay. And once this is done, the next step was, let me check the slide. Yeah, the second step is already done. As you can see, configure SSH login by public key authentication, and then SSH port. Now this is optional. The thing is, what happens, there are many bots on the web. So if you are like leaving the server on 24/7 for years or months to come, then most likely they will try to hack into your server or log into your server by scanning random passwords and everything. The public key definitely protects it, the public key authentication system, but password based authentication system, most likely your server will be hacked no matter how long your password is. So it's then if you want to change it, you can go to this thing here. This is the folder for the SSH configuration. You can see this SSHD configuration or SSH daemon configuration, that you can open. Now this is another feature of this thing, Bitwise SSH client. You can directly right click on it and click edit, and it will open in a notepad. And once you save it, it automatically updates the file on the server. So that is really nice. And always do never use Notepad. Just to the Microsoft Notepad comes with Windows. Use Notepad++, but because that interferes with the encoding of the file. And if you encode it in Windows format instead of the Linux, then some things don't work most of the time. So here you can see default port is 22. If you want to change the port, you have to change it. Let's say I want to make it 20. But when you do that and and here, as you can see, authentication by default permit root login, yes, but you can make it permit root login without password. That is, no one can log into your server using password. So if someone has the private key for your server, however, then they will still be able to log in. So I will save them. So as you can see, the file was updated automatically on the server. You can see the same thing through this log here, uploading the local file. So it was in my temporary folder, and after I saved it, it got again uploaded. So this is a really nice feature which helps a lot for while you are developing any code for the program for your server or your application. Okay, so once that is done, now since I changed the port, let me just restart the SSH daemon. So you can write service as it is either SSH or SSHD. Yeah, I think it's SSH. However, see, even if I have restarted, it is still connected to the port, and this is a feature of this SSH, so that if something goes wrong, then you can still recover. But if I log out and something has gone wrong, then you cannot log in. Therefore, what happens is you can start another SSH client option, this instance, and connect to this same one. Using the new port, and see if you are able to log in using this new port. Okay, so you are able to log in, so that means it's fine. So we can now close this old one, log out. Yes, maybe save the profile. We will save the profile here. Yeah, any computer, anywhere, it's fine. And then exit. No, I already have my profile information here, and here you can see the FTP window, and here is this old one has been disconnected, so you can close it. This is the terminal or command window that you can see. Okay, now next step is, let's see, I think it was firewall. Configure the basic firewall. So basic firewall, what I mean by it is UFW. So Ubuntu comes with this, or I think it is also available for other Debian systems as well. So here you can write, first you can see the status. So it's inactive. Now you can let's say allow our SSH port, let's say 20. Also let's the rule has been added. Let's allow the default SSH port as well. But if you are sure that you are never going to use it, then you can block it. You can just write UFW deny something. Then you have to also configure if you are going to, like, depending on what you are going to host. For example, let's say we want to host a web server, so that uses port number 80 for HTTP protocol, and HTTPS is on 443. So you have to allow them. Now you can either directly write UFW allow 80 and similarly 443, or you can write UFW allow the nginx HTTP. Anyway, those things will be mentioned in any tutorial that you follow later on. So for now I have allowed these 4 protocols, and if I want to block the rest, you can just there is a command, so you can just Google it. UFW. There is a default policy, deny all. You can follow any program. So here This did not help. Here, so UFW default deny incoming. So this is what you need to type. So the default rule will be updated to incoming. So incoming connection to any other port mentioned except these 4 ports, they will be stopped. So update your rules accordingly. So we have already updated. Now you can hit UFW enable. Yes, because we have already allowed that connection, otherwise it would be disrupted. Firewall is active. So this is the very basic setup you must do if you have recently created a VPS. Otherwise all those bots will look for any vulnerable ports or any open ports that you have either knowingly or unknowingly opened, and they will gain access to your VPS and use it for their malicious purposes. So that's one important rule. Then next is you update the software, so that you can follow any, depending on what you want to install, they automatically update it. Otherwise you can just type app update. So as you can see, it's connecting to its own servers, all the software repositories, and downloading them, and it's already done. Now it says that 94 packages can be upgraded, so you can write apt upgrade to review which packages are being upgraded, and you can update them all, no problem. Just hit yes, because the VPS images are most of the time very old ones, so they seldom get updated. So this is the first thing, and if your VPS is still running after this update, then you can install the software that you are really going to use. Okay, it happens really fast depending on where the VPS is situated and the resources on it. Anyway, I will pause it, and once it is complete, I will resume it again. Now during installation, as you see, it is asking for this whether the SSHD config that we changed, the port number and the authentication methods, so that file has been modified. Do you want to keep the modification? So the default option is always the most safe one, so we want to keep those modifications obviously, because if I change it and let's say you have blocked your 22 port number 22, then if you restore the default version, then again that port number will be changed and you will be logged out of your computer. So that's not very helpful. So just keep the default version, and the PC has been updated. If you want, you can do a restart after this update finishes. Generally, if it updates the Linux, the kernel image, then it is definitely worthwhile to restart it. As you can see, the kernel image has been updated, this one 5.4 point something. So every time this happens, it's a good idea to restart it and see whether your system is still working after this update. And to restart, you can just write. Now see that I am directly executing the command says root, so that's why I don't have to write sudo. But if you have logged into the system without root, then you can you have to write sudo with everything, and provided your username is in the sudo group. Anyway, those are the basic Linux stuff that you must be aware of. Directly logging in as root is a bit risky because you can affect many different integral or important parts of the system. However, since I know what I am doing, at least for the tutorial purpose, it's okay. Now as you can see, as I restarted the system, it got disconnected and it will automatically reconnect it. It has already reconnected, but it did not open the terminal channel. However, the file server, the SFTP server, it has been or the SFTP connection is restored, but you can create a new terminal again. If you want, you can create multiple terminals like this, so that in one terminal you can do some stuff, while in others you can do something else. So this is also a nice thing with this particular software. And here the update has been finished. Now that the update has been finished, you can check your system's performance using this command htop or top, and here you can see it has 2 processor cores and about 2 GB of RAM, and swap is 0. So, and these are the running processes. So this is a nice little tool. It's like your Windows task manager if you are used to Windows. So this helps a lot, especially when if you are say, let's say, running some programs which are hanging or hogging up the system, then you can open this up, or you can keep it opened in another terminal, and real time you can monitor what processes you are using or anything. For example, if I type here apt update again, so as you can see the CPUs, it spiked. Now let's say if you want to set up the server as a web server. So for web server you need a few things like your web software, that is or website server, that is Nginx, and you may like to install a database. So the default is this one is MySQL. Then you of course you need PHP for any kind of dynamic website content. So this whole thing is called LAMP stack. So if you Google it, the first result comes from DigitalOcean. So this is the this is why I like this particular website, because they have really great tutorials in depth, and they even, for example, if I open this tutorial, here you can see they have this for different operating system as well. So this is really helpful for beginners. So you just follow through the tutorial. It will be a long one, so I won't go through it in this particular video, but you just follow through it, and you will be at the end, you will be ready with your website. And after that you can go to, if you want to have a domain name, my favorite one is this one, name.com. You can go there and you can buy a domain name for you and point the domain name to this to your VPS, this particular server, this IP address directly. This is the IP address on top, you can see. Or you can also write if config. I have to install NetTools. This is another, the newer Linux, they are really helpful. So you want to use ifconfig, you have to install that tool. So once you install it, which is pretty fast, then you can write ifconfig, and you can see here ETH0, this is your IP, this is your public IP of this particular machine. So you can just point to this IP through your domain name and you can have your website. Again, to how to host your website, you can again search for any tutorial, and the first one you will file is most likely will be from DigitalOcean again, or this Google does the rest. So best of luck, and for your web development project. I hope this will be helpful to some of you. So like the video if you find it helpful. Otherwise comment, post your comment, so that we can discuss any other stuff related to this further. Thank you.